내리다가 공리 막이 강시지 주요래데 내리다당지 드라이브나 주요래데 드라이브와 강리들은 들리다다 로마 삼체기 가사카니 가수망보 토크요래 토크 용내양들이 가시거들이 이 도다데 얘기를 저 나고 자고요 얘기를 지시리 땀니 세리 땀니들이 같이 코바요들은 세리 참아 땀니들이 내가 코바요 말이 들때 따르면 따르때 따와들 초라 놓고 저거요래 얘네들이 다 고아지 당용아지 당보고 용들이 됐을 양타양들이 rolling 초과라 뛰니 이 동물도 파시에면 될 양팽이요래 시사 될 양팽이요래 시험을 아니게 되니 다 알람자 하거나 이 뒤들이 양타 사실적으로 뒤에 시바스를 삼무동 오 링카를 대가를 삼무동 되는 이 양팽이요래 이 시험을 시사 일 팽이요래 그때 된상 소남 삼점을 잡아래 다 치망시게 되니 로마니엄 정치 찾기면 와 탐색에 이 학원을 뜻하라고 요만이 뜻하라들 뜻하라는 링 영역을 말해 대변 뜻하다지 rolling 촉과들 촉과가서들이 저한테 라마케비지 라는 것에 맞추는 때를 저는 좋고요래 저한테 이제는 피티가 양 팽이요래 rolling 촉과들이 하장 같이 뭐 들들이 다다 참아들이 남이 rolling 촉과 남이 그래서 고소 언니 삼세가 팔린데 랑랑 간시지 랑랭인데 어디 라마 개시이면 냅쳐고 말이 라마를 거래서 말이 랑가 돈다는 마시다 또 라마 개시이는 저거래 랑가 돈다 하고는 따라 이 하고는 대식도 보소서가 요래 소지 세라마 빼지 소지 돈들라마들이 당모 고정걸라마 산속센들이甚至 피고 삼이 로데 돈담게 산지라는 셈리 랑 센티 사마 센티 그 센티 담지 대식도 보고니 센티 남는 상계에서 어쩌리 지지는 오 데레티는 때라나게 되니 핀지 로지 온전히 데레티 샵 정도요래 삼바라티는 hin지 정도요 베테리 hin지를 들이들이 샵 정도요래 때까지 삼바다 hin지 이게 랑 생각 내값들 로로도마 나오냐 때 다로 때 다로 때 생각을 하시지 싫다만 하는 게 시작만 하기는 랑랑지 랑도 선택에 내놓게 그 얼마니 인감이 유래지바 많이 진짜 짜대요 봐 많이 송 이제 타만 다시 거대 탐지 생기대로 조조연배 그때라 근데 람들이 라만을 먹을 당 쓰기는 이제는 센트 쌀도 요래 레이터 바테리 라마 게르시니 송바다 체요 말이 들이 대회들이 저한테 하자 같이 머리도 상들이 tellat들이 rolling 초과대 대회 초과래 rolling 초과대들이 참아 로바 소소니 저렇게 소소 가래야 라마 석을 가시는 자 들이라는 게 들이지 방법 얘기를 딱 들이지 양당양도 rolling 그리고 내세를 지금 니시들을 어디에 되네 이게 때문에 내가 처음에 봐 타주도 봐 자기 요리 사진 좀 되는데 공부 깔아더니 스키다가 살이도 럭버따랑 아이 가송 공부 까지 양도 딱 깨도 영양인데 깨고 선 거래 셀러티니다다 다다다 게디우게 됐다게 체투 좀 섬들 체바탕 그런 체바라든지 쯔바들을 찍들 돌을 취졌어 돌들이 들 마시 참이 오 좁아 작다데 말이 취졌어 돌을 도치가 동바를 마음 도치고 창 동바도 싸고 야창도 알아 잡고도 야채 때는 오라는데 랑그 중에 동고 말이 받쳐게 찍지를 도도 취졌어 돌지 취졌어 돌을 시르더니 또봐 잘에 미 받쳐 가서 취들이 뚱을 빼내지 취지 좀 말이 돼 랑그 따서 도서를 뚱을 그때 rolling 초과다 하자 이침보리 뜻대로 나게디 도리데 와서 마보시들 마보도 옆옆 차로 그래 남리 마보 뜻이니까 명령제 너도 제체는 뜻대로 rolling 초과다 마음과로 좀 들이라게 강시실이 되고요 아마 개신이 습지 탐제라 되지 삼제요 되네 들이 참아지 게딘 말이 다다 낭발이 코사하래 이 싸움을 대해서 아는 제인인 거 말이다. 오늘도 이제 봐잖아. Then you said you can't miss the dog dreaming on us. Saji Jondi, the Taja, Siji, and the Saji, she was the seven nail of the story. So the Sanji, Sanji, Nidi Sanjo, or some crown dying imadox. Jade, 7 nail of the Namkeka Chabdot, or Dio Tanche Chabdo, something. They have was on 3. Jade, the Saji, you need to tell you. But a such a chip to Mushena, the Mango Shake or the 동반이 있어봐도 동반이니까 네 콜로도 콜거나 네 가라 동반이가 차요래 사도도 되는데 또 요절 때 동반이가 차요 동반이가 맞참나 이렇게 감되지 발상하는 내 독을 말이 이렇게 감되지 동반이지 용띠 되다 그래 돈이 동세 돈이 돼 생민들 와요래 이 하고 특별히 진짜 문제 세제들 저와들인데 저리인데 비상 로바란테 그거니 파도 똑같아야 the drawing the creature for it, the Nagari.
So before I explained to you the Vajra recitation as well as I could. And so also I said that if you have any questions, you can ask those questions. And so how do we now ask our questions? So the disciples, you have received a lot of teachings all over the place. And some of you also take notes while receiving teachings. Take notes while receiving teachings. And so then, however, even though you hold on to those notes, you're very busy, you don't have so much time to revise them, so often they just then sit around and you never actually look at them again. And then it really becomes sort of wasted. So first you have written down your notes, and that is the first understanding that you have gained of the teachings. But then you also can't leave it at that, you also have to experience instructions by practicing them over and over again. And that's also why I initiated this discussion group where the disciples can discuss the Dharma with each other and ask questions. And that helps the one who is answering the question and also the one who receives an answer to their question. So those who answer the questions, and they have an understanding of the context. And then by answering the question, they think about it more deeply. And then actually their own understanding becomes increasingly clear. So this is how answering questions benefits the one who is answering them. And therefore it's really very good to answer whatever question one can answer. It benefits really both. It's a great way to accumulate merit. And that's why it's good for the disciples to come together and to ask questions to each other, to those disciples who have more experience. So now you have the conditions for doing so. Otherwise, if you just think you have to ask a question to a certain Lama, then maybe sometimes you don't have those conditions and you don't find anyone to ask a question. Or even if you find someone to ask a question, maybe you don't receive an answer, and so forth. So that was the idea of starting a discussion group where the disciples can ask questions. And so in general, you can ask questions to really anyone, any teacher, any Lama, whoever you have faith in. It is fine to ask questions to anyone. Or any different lineage and so on. And so that benefits you who asks the questions and also the one who answers the questions. So the discussion groups are really very important, and that is why I encourage everyone to start these discussion groups. And so then those who answer the question will answer the questions from their own understanding. But you shouldn't think that, this person is not a Lama, so you shouldn't ask them question, you should only ask a Lama. That's not how you should think at all. But you should ask anyone who has an understanding, and then if they don't know the answer to a question, then they can still ask a Lama. And the reason why they know also is because they also possess Buddha nature. They also have the potential to know. And what we call the Lama, so the outer external Lama, is just an example, an illustration. The Lama that is being exemplified by this outer Lama is the actual ultimate inner Lama. And on the relative level, that inner Lama is your own bodhicitta, which is the wish to benefit all sentient beings. On the ultimate level, the ultimate inner Lama is the true nature of your mind. And even samsaric sentient beings possess that. They possess Buddha nature. If you know that, you will trust in the Buddha's teachings when he said all sentient beings are actually Buddhas. So, and therefore, those who answer questions want to benefit. And so when you have a wish to benefit others, from this wish arises wisdom. So first there must be love, and from love arises compassion, and from compassion arises wisdom. So they also have recognized that temporarily it is just that this dualistic grasping of you and me is just a temporary stain, but it doesn't actually exist. There is no real self. The true nature of the mind, the natural state, is completely pure, just like this crystal, completely pure. And so when you know the nature of the mind, you realize that this has always been there, and it's nothing that someone gave to you, it's nothing that you have acquired from somewhere else, it's nothing new that you found. It's always actually been there. The nature of the mind pervades all of samsara and nirvana. All appearances of the universe and all beings are nothing but the magical display of the mind itself. So ideally, you should see that all beings are like the deity, and you have devotion to the guru. You have compassion for sentient beings who haven't realized that. And in this way, the mind becomes more and more clear. So there really is no difference between those who answer questions and the Lama. So therefore, it's very important to ask questions, and that's why I initiated the starting of these discussion groups. And now, wherever you are, in whichever country you are, you can ask really anyone, and you can receive teachings from any Lama. And when you receive teachings, first you take notes, and then it's important to also discuss these notes, really ponder these notes over and over again. Only through reflection you will gain certainty in these notes. Certainty then arises when you feel that you know that this is really how it is. And no matter what anyone else says, you're free of any doubts. You decide that this is what it is. And the Buddha himself had said that you should not just believe what I say, but you should analyze my teachings just like you're cutting and polishing gold. So you don't just believe what I say, but analyze the teachings over and over again. Look at them well. And so just like that, we have to really reflect and analyze the teachings. And so on the relative level, for example, that is why we have the activities of the division of the Sangha, who teach the Dharma, who debate, and who compose Dharma, texts, and so on. Regarding the debate, a debate is similar to the discussion, and debating is what refines or kind of polishes each other's, we polish each other's understanding, our own understanding of the Dharma. For example, it's like two friends seeing each other's face. So you don't see your own face, and your friend helps you polish your own face, clean your own face. So when there is some dirt in your face, or you need to shave your beard and so on, then your friend tells you you have too much beard, or your face is not clean. Then you clean your face. normally we don't see our own faults. So that's why we debate, so that we refine our own understanding of the Dharma. We polish our own understanding of the Dharma. So therefore, it is better to, it says, to be like challenged in 100 debates, and like than to being praised, for example. It's better to have the faults being pointed out, but of course, we shouldn't see that in a casual way, like pointing out the faults of others. So when faults and criticism in an ordinary sense arise, that is also never the fault of the Dharma. It's also just the fault of maybe the individual. But this is now aside from the discussions. The discussion groups are really very important. And so now I have explained, in the past I have explained a lot about the Vajra recitation, and you've received many teachings and practiced it a lot, so if we speak about it too much, maybe you would feel bored. So that's why I explained it very concisely. But also it's important to discuss that in your discussion groups in the future. And of course also I will do my best to answer any questions. So all the spiritual teachers have great love for sentient beings, and they are all Sangha. Also, you shouldn't think that I'm a Buddhist and he is not a Buddhist, because we all have the same mind. It is just that we see things in a dualistic way due to grasping in the mind. Especially if you practice the Amahung Vajra recitation, you should realize this point. Also, as you mentioned before, the Buddha said in the Moonlight Sutra, how all beings are one, how all sentient beings are Buddha. So when one realizes the nature of the mind, then when one awakens or becomes a Buddha, so the term is Sangye, and Sang means to have having cleared away all grasping in the mind. So there is no more dualistic thought of self and other. And Gye means vast. Then the mind becomes vast like space, when there is no grasping in the mind. Also, this relates to the teachings on Mahamudra and the teachings on emptiness. For example, regarding spinning the prayer wheel, the fact that I can spin the prayer wheel is because of emptiness. It's because there is space. If there wouldn't be any emptiness, if there would be no space, then I couldn't spin that prayer wheel. Nothing at all could be there. There could be no appearance in the world, whether animate or inanimate, if there would be no empty space. It's because there's emptiness that the world can exist and appear in the first place. So an emptiness also is connected to your own mind. You should understand this. So again, all the various notes that you have taken on the teachings, you should ask questions in your discussion groups, and people should answer those questions. And then also really ask whoever you want to ask. It doesn't matter which lineage or which Lama, whoever you ask. And also remember that the benefit of these discussion groups is that it benefits really the one who is answering the questions and the one who is asking the questions. So it's very important, and that is my hope, my wish for you, that you start these discussion groups.
rāngi tāngbō tē yāngi chēli tā rōma bō yāngi kāchī shūnyā tāwā tēka tā chūk mā tō rāngi chūk mā tō rāngi chēli tāyā yō rē, yīga tāyā yō mā rē sēn tā tāwē chū bā yēn sōng sēn tā tāwē chū nē tāwā tēne tā chū nē kāwē yī rāngi yīdī mē bā kārē yī nā tō bā yī nā kārē mē bā sōng tēri tēlā sō bā sēn tāwē chū chī bā tēri tā tā sāyā chī bō ngō chū chō chī mbō chō chī jī nā 그래서 뭐 다운 거로 다 먹었던 거에 타 추마주랑 새로 쳤다 거리 센터에 따위 초리들이 냠서 곰베리 바이 곰에다 곰시 와서 곰나바나도 탑나바나소리 탑만 가면 봐대서 There's the one who does the party, Tamada in now, Delatry, Taparam Jansen Java, the lower tomate, Savage, the tat, or home journey, Tata, the Madaban is in now the Tarnitry, Tanang, the Tanan, the Jelly Tapai, what they worship, or young Goberian by it. Tamada the Takari, the Seminami Chipacami, Madawa, the Mubo and Timartin, not new days. The Yamini, Madawa the Tapan, and just to do it around that. Pinchucha, yeah, I'm a pair of new Sherang, the Gomjami, oh, Tata Shedang, Jerry Tower, Tapan, water penalty, said the shaking book corner, Shedang, Jimmy Baker, Numa Togres, yeah. Definitely, you know what the Pinchik is, Rami and Dokotoe, oh, dear, Goban Yamyonta Devaso, Jin Yamyonta, Jen, Gomjapaka, Yamyonta, Sen Jerna. You be a talent of by it. You go the Jolam Yam the Sailing Jogo, Yore. Jolam Yam the Sailing Jogo, and penalty Jolam Yam the Sailor, the Marani and the Pocket the Seven Delogoma. Palaking or Langori, Concrete, Tatu Maringpa Torche Boris, coming oh, Ramgan and Dona, the city doing mentally Zongoris, Zonga the Logina Teori. Both Sudini Lamgan the Tatu, Tawan Drogo, Dona, Lamgan the Dutch body or Don Diritini, Don Dilling up Haro Dodder, Mother Maringpa Chego. The Lamgan didn't Don now on the chair, the Jim lesson. Then I mind for the human young song, my song. They some share a day, Taket and the road now around the chair song. They did on mind what you got so. Did it? Salatoni not the song. Oh, colors on the Jolan drawn chat yan dog jail. You got the day, going to mutiny, doesn't go. They going to mutiny, just sound corridor. My song corridor. Yeah, Savangani. Kalala Shamso, Telasova, Rodatoa, Cha, Dang, Shimless, Cha, Madame Dang, Chadang Toba, or Ting Musini, or Chadang Yikameva, Verago, or Center Chadang Pachamajana, or that's what you call also Sanabella, Toning is also, or that one hour of the children along to long Tanjekani, now Kamakari, Chagma, or Tatanga, Tashason, something, Rang Tibara, Sort, Del Numova. Nidinatini, you more Ranjupa, you more Ranjupa, the Trinity baby, you but Ranjupa, so Trinity baby, you want me shoulder to Ranjupa. She given on me to the Tata, a tiny moon, she sent me, but this subject, Troll, now, Troll, you more she about it, why over you, more she is Kale, you more shock chiller, the matter of Troll, Kale, Troll, the whole train she wanted the kitchen where the train by just don't chat and dog similar to song. Or that data was song like the theatre of train she, you don't oh, that one jabber half honestly, you move when they shake to dog send a part chat young dog. Jen said, oh, Taranga Kong she down long song. Then it's a more she sold. Tata Kong she down, but don't dog, oh, similar. Don't say you'll be a theatre with any Mopanian young Java song, Gemini, young Java catchy song. It is to be a tardo, the too long time to come to the same Namanato, to Jackie saw carry chain out of the Tata, to that original theatre, Tadam Monson Jackie to get last over Toma Sharmu, namely GP Kona, GP Kona and the Tonda with the Dagi Nimeva. Good Dagi, but the GP told him, Catherine, GP Kona, Joram said to the GP territory, you're going to be the shop territory. They thought in a longer go my over to check over it. They generally thought that Nelson and Jerry, you're not to carry. Simply say such a while of teachers how James the Ramson or simply says about the bus here. Chatan indeed say only. Oh, Karen and Rick, you need to talk to you. Oh, coming out 가래는 덕덕 버덕과 직접 뭐냐면 자와 탐색에서 뭐 또만이는 나도 요 말에서 가래는 덕 버덕과 직접 뭐야 띠가를 다 떼다 저거 뭐래 쭈비랑 쭈비는 타르도 많이 문이 타르도 버디 쭈바래 따와 요장 고백 양서 말하나 밤에 배워도 소저거래 밤에 배워도 실제 쪼랑 것들이 다다다 다른 게 체험 포괄 동로요래 총나들이 저배박 차도 걸 때다가 삼았다 대체로 대체 비에면 송점지 추dun이 말송이 대라고 소소를 맞아 용티 배차 당화치고요 말에 남명들이 다다다 수도 말하는 거 좋아해.
So since we have some empty time, and if there are no questions, there's one quote by Milarepa, who had said, when you resolve the view, you have to resolve the view within your own mind. So first, now you have received many teachings over the years, and then you also have to practice these teachings. You have to actually experience them. So first, you have to resolve the view. You have to decide upon the view, understand the view, by looking at your own mind again and again. So you don't look at anyone else, you look at your own mind. And within your own mind, you will decide upon the view, the natural state of the mind. And that means that you let go of dualistic grasping. And as we mentioned before, when everything becomes empty, when there is no thought, no dualistic thought in the mind, then there's also no contradiction between anything. There are no sides. So this is also how we are introduced to Mahamudra or the Dzogchen teachings and so forth. There's many different ways of recognizing the view, but the view must be recognized from within your own mind. So you have to personally yourself recognize the view. It has to be a direct experience, and then you decide upon the natural state. And then next, Milarepa said, then having recognized the view, you must practice, and practice meditation must be imbued with experience. So it has to become an actual direct experience. That is what we call meditation. And there are many different methods, many different ways of practicing, especially in the Vajrayana. The Vajrayana is rich in skillful means that require the least difficulty. And so one of the methods is to practice the Amahong Vajra recitation. And as a result of having done this practice, you will see first you see the entire universe and all beings as pure and impure. And then through this practice, everything becomes an infinite field of purity. And you recognize that all these impure perceptions are just those temporary stains that need to be cleared away. And the Amahong Vajra recitation clears them away. So all dualistic perceptions become purified. And that is also what we call a pure view. A pure view sees that fundamentally everything is pure by nature. So that is the view to be understood, and then that must be habituated through practice. So all impure and pure perceptions must become purified into in an infinite field of purity. So how that looks like from the perspective of practice is that all your impure thoughts and your fixation to the true existence of how things are, your thoughts and afflictive emotions, these are these impurities that need to become purified through practice. And so then also a way to purify them is to really analyze. That's why we also ask each other questions. That's why you should ask questions. So you really have to analyze it and think about it. For example, you analyze it when anger arises, and then you meditate. So a strong feeling of anger arises, and on the basis of your meditation, you recognize that on the basis the anger is actually also pure. There's nothing that's impure because of Buddha nature, and the anger does not inherently exist. even though temporarily we say the afflictive emotion is a poison. So, but if you always sustain mindfulness, if you habituate to mindfulness, then you will gain a direct experience of your practice. So the practice meditation becomes an actual experience. And so Milarepa said that this is very important. And then thirdly, he said that then the experience must be brought to perfection in the activities, one's day-to-day activities, meaning that we must merge our experience gained in meditation with our day-to-day activities. And so how can we do that? For example, when I was young, as a boy, actually my father was the first one introducing me to the nature of the mind. And he said that it's most important for you to be undistracted at all times. And actually this story you can also find in the movie on my life story. And so my father said that when you travel on the road, so we were riding on horseback at that time a lot, and when you ride along the road and you see a rock, think that until I reach this rock over there, I will not be distracted, I will be mindful. And then when you reach that rock, you take the next rock and you say, until I reach that rock, I will not be distracted. And so this is how I trained in mindfulness. And also Milarepa said, this is how we take all appearances as the path as we move around in our day-to-day activities. So it's always important that you really look at your mind and are mindful, see whether or not you have become distracted. So this is to take appearances as the path as you go about your day-to-day activities. And then next, also Milarepa said, when you eat from within a state of emptiness. So this is how you practice mindfulness in all activities, the 4 activities of walking, sitting, lying, and standing. Whatever you do, you continue on in an ongoing state of meditation. And you're always mindful, am I really sustaining mindfulness, or have I lost my mindfulness? For example, when you're eating food, eat from within a state of emptiness. Normally, we label food. We say this tastes good and this doesn't taste good. And then we are attached to one thing and have an aversion against the other. So when those thoughts arise, recognize them and be mindful, then these thoughts of attachment and aversion will disappear. And then you gain the experience of that when you don't cling to these thoughts, you also will not place a karmic or habitual imprint of attachment and aversion into your mind. And in this way, if you eat from within a state of emptiness, then eating actually becomes a tok, or a food offering, a feast offering to the deity. So this is how you eat. When you walk, take appearances as the path. Whatever appears, whatever triggers an afflictive emotion, recognize it. Know that now an afflictive emotion has appeared in my mind. It's very important to really be very conscious of whatever arises through always staying mindful presence. And in that way, even if an afflictive emotion arises, it will not become an ordinary affliction. An ordinary affliction is an unrestrained affliction that is not recognized by mindfulness. So therefore, one becomes controlled by an ordinary affliction. But if an affliction arises from within a state of clear mindfulness, then it will not be ordinary, because you recognize it as it arises. And then you recognize that actually there is no difference between the affliction and primordial wisdom. So in this way, as you go around, recognize all the afflictions that arise with mindfulness, with awareness. And then slowly you will be able to liberate more and more afflictions. Sometimes when the affliction is very powerful, you won't be able to liberate it right away, but you will slowly liberate it through sustaining awareness. So it's very important to sustain an ongoing state of mindfulness. Therefore, Milarepa said, in whatever you do, whether you are walking, sitting, lying down, or standing, always look at your mind, always be mindful, always recognize, have I become distracted? And then you will be able to not grasp at whatever affliction or thought arises. And this is how you gain this experience. The experience then is where you realize that, if I don't grasp at the affliction, it will go away. And if it goes away, then no karmic habitual imprint is placed into the mind. For example, I was angry this morning. I recognize it. Now there is no more anger. And so actually, what really is the anger? When you look at the nature of the anger, you see that the mind is completely clear in that moment. So this is how you gain experience. So Milarepa said it's very important to gain experience, the experience of meditation practice, and then bring it to perfection in the day-to-day activities. When you go about your activities, whether they are Dharma activities or mundane activities. No matter what activity you engage in, if the motivation of any activity is selfish, then naturally you will develop thoughts of attachment, anger, and ignorance. You will fall under the sway of the 8 worldly concerns. So instead, you should have as the basis not the self, but others. From a relative perspective, and from an ultimate perspective, know that self and others are indivisible. So for as long as we do perceive a duality of self and other, we are on the relative level, and here altruism is most important. So it's most important that no matter what you do it with an altruistic intention. And so this is how you bring the meditation into your day-to-day activities. And then from altruism arises compassion, and from compassion arises wisdom. And in this way, you are not deceiving yourself if you act in this way. And in this way, whatever you do becomes practice. And then, of course, if you practice in this way, there will be a result. As Milarepa also had said that when the fixations are exhausted within the minds of sentient beings, they will attain enlightenment in a single lifetime. So the fixations are the dualistic thoughts, the thoughts of attachment and anger. When these have collapsed and there is no dualistic thought, a sign of that is that anything is okay, anything is fine. There's no contradiction. There's no division. And that becomes an actual feeling, a conscious experience in all your day-to-day activities. And so it manifests as a content mind thinking that anything is okay. This is be this or that. It's all good. That's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama had said that when one realizes emptiness, there is no contradiction. No contradiction means that anything is fine. Anything one encounters, any appearance, any viewpoint, and so forth, everything, there is no sides. So this is how we bring the experience gained in meditation to perfection in the day-to-day activities. So the real mastering, the real perfection comes from our day-to-day activities when we go about encountering circumstances. So even though one might have in practice resolved the view and has gained some experience in meditation practice, it's essential to also bring that into one's day-to-day activities. Because it's, in a way, pointless to have some experience in meditation if one doesn't apply that in one's day-to-day activities, when one then again becomes controlled by unmindfulness and carelessness. So as a result of that, of unmindfulness in a larger sense, that will drag you deeper into samsaric existence, and in a smaller sense, it will continue to create imprints of delusion within your mind. So these were instructions by Milarepa, who explains the teachings in a very concise and clear way. So to me, really there are no greater teachings than his teachings, because I'm not someone with much learning. I haven't really studied the scriptures. But basically what I have shared with you now is just my own experience, the experience I've gained through my own practice.
So we have some questions from the Moscow Sangha, and the first one is, what is the best way to combine Vajra recitation with Tonglen practice and wisdom of emptiness realization? Is there a brief practice, for example, if practicing on transport where there are a lot of people?
동리대 다다 토마티 단지 코와 천지 삼체 단지 소시 단지데 단지 직발이 이 사바 체비바 이 사바 체비바 이렇게 사바 체비바 레치르들이 코스 단지제 철랑 코스 사바 체비바 주라 우리 제가 요래변은 따따따 찍다 담아로 찍지 하고는 강자 찍을 겁는 감성 생기 잡고 와 대하고 차례 대하고 될 소소들이 사바 체비지 가디 있잖아 똑바로 시가래 째는 때 고소냠도 째요. 자, 저랑 레드 잡도 봐도 참아 째요. 잡도 집에는 따봐지데. 대철이 저랑은 유모 받지가 가서 랑은 유모 먹니. 리모가 루 받지가 가서 딱갑들이 딱 한서 세지 유모가 됐지 빠르지. 다른 것들이 속다고 공주는 되는 뭐 잠땐 저들 유모이 싫은지. 되는 감성 생기 무슨 랭게요래. 다시 유모가 tamsi ngogo chukpa de yore tetara rik tok semchi de rimogo toro de papa kako tetara toni jiche meba yungo yore ngusu toni de tongtango de ma tonga teka teni chamara chab yungo yore sapa tsemi de ngoni de teni nige tsemi de toni de nidi meba gom jaungo teni tengi di koro neyo na semri pa toro neyo na teni tawang horde yeme isong 되게 감성 센지 감성 가면 만나면 소스에 동시에도 되게 속고요. 감성 센지 상태 배는 대마치 생고만 초반 초도 봐. 그것도 잡고 주빈이 저러고요. 생고만 무슨 된 가자 소소 공잡아나지. 내제도 동시에 잡고 랑이 매봐. 틀에 좀이 로된제 네 도담게 대마든 틀에 좋아요 말. 들이다다 이시바 하탐제게 조왕의 생기 피다 너도 로데 요면 시계라기 생기서 그게 대신에 뭐 요배는 이 대신에 뭐다더니 나가 대신에 뭐 들어와 차는 로버 좀 하더니 나중에 이제 차롱적으로 쇼를 랑이 돈이 차대요 그래지 대대만이 그쪽 사바체비 그거 그래지 또 남게 따보면 야라 데레 집에 직접 가고 이런 말이에요. 포화양 때래.
So for the Tonglen practice, we have said before that the self-grasping of all sentient beings in samsara is one and the same. So therefore, my own self-grasping and all beings' self-grasping is one and the same. And so therefore, if you give rise to immeasurable love, every time immeasurable love arises in your mind, it will melt the self-grasping of other sentient beings. And it will increase the love in their own mind streams, because our minds are one. Our love is one and the same. Our self-grasping is one and the same. And because we have realized that one appears as many, many have one taste. And we have also said that when one person meditates in a state of emptiness, that mind pervades all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara. And therefore, if you know that as a basis, you understand that our minds are one, you know that whenever immeasurable love arises in your mind, or whenever the realization, the wisdom of emptiness arises in your mind, then it also arises in the mind of all sentient beings together. And together all karmic obscurations become purified. It is just like one vast ocean. And so likewise, conversely, when an afflictive emotion arises, an ordinary afflictive emotion, at that time it also affects all sentient beings in the three realms of samsara, because as we said, all the afflictive emotions are one. And so because our minds are one, what arises in our mind affects others. And so therefore, when you recognize that, when an afflictive emotion arises, think that I have to make a greater effort in my practice and transform the afflictive emotions into primordial wisdom. And that will actually pervade all sentient beings. They will be affected by it. So, as you mentioned before, it is connected to the Vajrakilaya practice, the 6 seed syllables in the Vajrakilaya practice, whereby we recognize that how the beings in the 6 realms are all one, are all within my own mind, have all one and the same essence. And if you know that, actually, the practice of Tonglen happens constantly, without any effort. It happens naturally, all the time, continuously. And also emptiness. Because of emptiness, because you know that mind is empty, it pervades all sentient beings. And because it pervades all sentient beings, Tonglen happens continuously. When immeasurable love arises, from immeasurable love arises immeasurable compassion. And that is what benefits sentient beings, when it arises in your own mind. So when you abide within a meditative state of awareness, you realize that the view is said to be the inseparability of samsara and nirvana, which is your own mind. And we mentioned before this quote by the Buddha, when he spoke about the benefits of meditation. He said that it is a greater benefit to spend a single session in meditation than it is to save the life of all sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara. So through meditation practice, you are actually benefiting all sentient beings. And not only that, you are also naturally making offerings to all the higher beings. From your meditative state emerge naturally the Samantabhadra offering clouds. And so in this way, offerings are made and sentient beings are directly benefited through the meditation of one single person, because their state of emptiness pervades all beings. And it is also said that enlightened activities naturally, effortlessly accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. So there is no thought in the mind of the wisdom deity of I need to do this and that to benefit sentient beings. There is no deliberate effort. It happens spontaneously by virtue of Buddha nature, and also through knowing that their own Buddha nature is connected to the Buddha nature of all sentient beings, and that sentient beings are just obscured by the temporary stains of self and other, grasping at self and other. And through my own meditation, I can slowly melt their dualistic grasping. So in this way, actually through this realization of emptiness, Tonglen happens naturally. So we practice this from the perspective of the relative and the ultimate truth. On the relative level, we practice it by cultivating immeasurable love. And on the ultimate level, by practicing resting in the natural state of the mind. And there is not a single other thing that needs to be done. So the same is actually also true for the practice of Powa and so forth.
Next question. How do I connect Tummo and Vajra breath?
오, 도지 제바 tummo 되냐들 안 비리데 도지 제바 무슨 공부 감래들이 온 되고 로장님들 하고데 아 들이들이 깨와라들이 또 루메지 람들이 메롱돌 말람시 공부들이 지가를 잡아 줘서 됐던 머리 들이 제들이 홍지 롱데 루메들 탐송도 다 홍에도 루메 공하대 홍에도 루메 공하대 또 뭐냐면데 그 주체에 받들이 홍홍홍홍홍 되는 들이 제가 남생들한테 들이 봐요가 줘 봐요가 차고 차고요 들이 르라때서 팽겨요래 르게 졸라 팽겨요래 또 뭐냐면 돼야 돼.
So actually the Vajra recitation and Tummo also happen simultaneously, also naturally. Because when you are practicing the Vajra recitation, so you're inhaling, thinking Om, and then the winds flow down through the right and the left channels to the navel, where you think Ah, and where you can visualize a flame, fire flame. In an instant, you think that there is this red blazing on fire flame, where you think and then you meditate for just a little while. And that actually is the Tummo practice. And so then this is how you practice it actually continuously in whatever you do, in all activities too. Most important is to sustain awareness of the Hung at the navel, and together with that also the warmth arises. So in all your activities, always remember the Hung. And along with that, also, it will support your sustaining of mindfulness on an ongoing basis. And also warmth will arise in the navel area, and that will also benefit your physical health. And so warmth will arise in your physical body. And also it benefits your abiding within the view.
그 사람들 진실은 참아요래. 진실매는 참아요래. 그 사람들 진실을 줘. 답답하나도 진실을 줘래들이. 선남 내주들 진실이 너는 진실은 참아요래.
If you have mindfulness, you have everything. If you do not have mindfulness, you have nothing. All these different practices are just methods to sustain mindfulness. So when the mind abides, then you are mindfulness. And if you have mindfulness, you have everything.
We have time for one more question. If the inner guru is nature of mind, how do I rely on it and not confuse it with the ego or my ignorance?
네 진실을 남아야는데 그래 너무 나도 가래 째나야 되지 다시 진실이 어디 진실이 매라고 그래 그럼 나도 이마데 소화되죠 나도 이마 소화지 나도 라지 봐서 저 책도 그래 라만 주발이 저거 그래 너무 정말 가래나 도게 주반벌 라따도 차도 주반벌들이 나도 다 너무 못하게 책들랑 이미 봐 차들지 주발이 저거 그래
So mindfulness is the guru, and through the guru that is mindfulness, you recognize whatever thoughts and afflictive emotions arise. This mindfulness is like fire that burns away all the feelings generated by thoughts. So it's those thoughts that produce a feeling that are the ordinary afflictive emotions. And these are burned away by the fire of mindfulness. And as a result, then this burning away becomes an offering naturally. Also, we say in the practice that I offer this Rakta Dharma. And so it becomes just like that, completely this Rakta offering. It becomes burned away, and then there is no more ordinary thought with a feeling. And when that has collapsed, then that becomes an offering.
shakka nyumu pa yi shila mine, tiri shali chupala jala, nyumu pa da mamina tiri, ta sosola ana tokla jala tiri jata, neka lesa anko yori, mii mamini de chepar chepori, tiri gopa nyamnyongla tiri, tiri mii mamini, tiri anko chuchu riga na, napto riga da hakole, o, stop mii songs, o, tata mii ma song de, teta hakokore, tiri ishiki hakokore.
And also in the Vajrakilaya practice, it says that ignorance, which is like a mountain of, like a pile of flesh, is offered. And then desire, which is like an ocean of blood, is offered. And hatred, which is a mountain of bones, is offered to Vajra Rakshasa, and his assembly, also Vajrakilaya. So what that means is that when the afflictive emotions are recognized and transform into primordial wisdom, then that is how this offering is made. And this transforming is the supreme offering, the best offering you can make to the deity. So we call that the afflictions mature into primordial wisdom, and this maturing then becomes the offering to the deity. Of course, if they are not matured, then the afflictions are just poison, and temporarily we will continue to accumulate karma. There's a big difference between matured and immatured afflictive emotions. And so in order to mature them, we have to gain the experience of practice and also apply introspection that always recognizes on a minute-to-minute or hour-to-hour basis all the time, am I maturing my mind or not? So you recognize, now I have matured, or now I have not matured, and so on. So mindfulness is, the essence is really mindfulness.
Now we'll do the dedication prayers in the Yellow Prayer Book, beginning with Long Life Prayers on page 22. For this realm, encircled by snow-covered mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. Tenzin Gyatso, Lord Chenrezig, may you remain steadfast until the end of samsara, embodiment of the three jewels, great being who upholds and increases the teachings of the Shakya lion. Supreme are your activities of guiding others with your perfect deeds. May you, the precious Guru who accomplishes everything, spontaneously live long. Holder of the teachings of the Lord Drigumpa, great Lord of the three jewels, through the power of your peerless compassion and the holy Dharma's peace and light, you bring relief to beings. May your life be long. The one known in the noble land as Arya Deva emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Gompo. May the life of the glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 eons. Page 28. May the teachings of the great Drigumpa Ratna Shri, Master of Interdependence, Omniscient Lord of Dharma, who has seen all knowable things, be upheld until the end of psychic existence through study, practice, hearing, contemplation, and meditation. Your 1,000 arms are the 1,000 wheel-turning kings. Your 1,000 eyes are the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. Your love is boundless like space. I supplicate to the Bodhisattva Chenrezig.
상가 시바시바 약가요 텐시 아이다 내 교사에 엄마자 송지 간에 줘서 버리오데 근데 내 통로 줘서 보고 야더라대.
So Rinpoche offers you this delicious milk tea from his begging bowl. So therefore, if he drinks it, you all will be, all your bellies will be full.
간에 지금 산책servi지. 산책servi들이 계속 servi지 보면 돼. 사마 코발을 쫀다고 그래야지.
And so that's because its nature is bodhicitta. And if all of you cultivate the motivation of bodhicitta, you will all become free from samsara.
Hello, dear friends, dear Rinpoche. On behalf of the Moscow Center and the entire Sangha, we'd like to thank our precious teacher, Lama Garchen Rinpoche, for responding to our request, giving such important teachings, and especially for answering questions that clarified a difficult moment. Guru, we pray for your long life and the benefit of long life, Rinpoche. We thank all the lamas and monks for their tireless work and support the lineage of the Rinpoche's teachings. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank Ina and all the translators. Because of you, we can understand Holy Dharma. Your speech is not separated from Guru's speech. And of course, we thank the staff of the Garchen Institute, Christina, and everyone else involved from the office for the ever excellent organization of these and other teachings. Billy, for that he mastered new technologies so well and so patient to us. Padma and many others, everyone behind. Thank you very much. Even though we cannot fully repay kindness of the Guru and all involved in this transmission, yet we'd like to make this offering to Lama Garchen Rinpoche, the Lamas, translators, and staff as the sign of auspicious interconnection. Please accept them with the wish that our Samaya will flourish. Tukdangon Pe Rinpoche, Tukjiche, long life.
Long life.
Long life.
저토를 냠니 제야 돼. 단 말로 같이 주세요. 세상 게다 되는 손으로 로테리. 이렇게서 두개치지. 저소를 저소. 다작하는 냠니 제야 돼. 바바니 이제 냠니 제야.
So the best help or service you can give me is to practice in your various centers. And that benefits those who are alive and those who have passed away. So I would like to say thank you for your practice, also especially now on the live stream, your practice of Vajrakilaya and Yamantaka.
이것이 3년제까지 통과들이 이것서 사만 통과요래 사마적으로 통과요래.
And Rinpoche says, I'm happy to have seen all of your faces, the disciples from Russia, Ukraine, and all the other places. So wonderful to see you. And so actually by now seeing each other's bodies, we also see each other's minds. And especially whenever we cultivate bodhicitta, our minds really are together. So therefore, practice love and compassion. Whenever you cultivate, you give rise to love and compassion, then we really see each other in this way.
Jakayo, yeah.